Hello and thanks for joining us this Friday for another live broadcast of SMTV. I'm Duncan Gilman.
And I'm Jeff Kilman.
Let's talk privacy today.
Sounds good.
Two big stories. One is this Bulgarian blogger, this guy, who bought 1 million email usernames and email addresses for basically $5 on one of these.
Yeah, less than a Happy Meal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can't really scrape this information off of Facebook, so we must have gotten it from apps that allow people to give their information or take information once you sign up for the app, once you download it. So a huge privacy reminder to people on Facebook.
The funny part is, you know, now Facebook is reaching back out to this blogger and trying to be kind of nice about it and saying, hey, you really can't use that information, and we want you to delete it and send it back, send us the information and where you got it. But you know, this comes to the crux of the issue is, one, who owns that data once you've given the rights as a consumer to an app, to a developer. When you click those boxes that say, yes, I agree, and most of us don't read that box to say that you've just agreed to all of your photos. Who now owns that content? So it really becomes not only a privacy issue, but it really becomes an ownership issue when we deal on social media every day. Yeah,
it's very true. And it's a big concern for businesses, not only when it's business proprietary information, but for the people who are using that platform on behalf of the business.
Yeah. And it becomes really key is, you know, this comes down to one, common sense. So as a consumer, use your common sense about what you're giving up as far as rights. And make sure that there's a good quid pro quo. Does it make sense for this app to be able to access all of my data in Facebook? Does it really need that? And what's the convenience that I'm getting back? And then the second thing is, and I preach this all the time to our clients, is it's our job to be good stewards of data.
Yes.
And in the social media landscape, it's important that we respect people's privacy, we work around the same ethical guidelines, and we protect people's data because they are providing us sense of security, and we need to provide that back.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned common sense. And it's fascinating to me, where does common sense meet culture? The second study here, the second article, says that 25% of young adults, on average, across several countries, these young adults are friends on Facebook with their bosses. Yeah, you know, it's funny because you know, I've run a couple companies, and it's always been interesting to me what my employees share over Facebook, thinking that I don't see it. You know, and it's telling us where they've been, where they were that night. And then they show up, and all of a sudden they're mysteriously ill the next day. I can see where you've been. I know
can see that you were, you know, you were clubbing for, you know, for a good 12 hours until 3 a.m. So, you know, it does come down to, especially as we skew younger, and those that are 18 to 25 in that range.
That's exactly the range.
There seems to be not much of a barrier between their personal life and their business life as much as, you know, I'm 40, and that was taught and instilled into us at the beginning of my career was keep those two worlds very distinct. It's very well blended together. So once again, common sense has to kick in. What are you sharing? What are you saying? What are you venting about? You know, did you have a bad day at the office? Remember who's friended you and who you have friended before you write the manifesto of what a bad day it was.
Absolutely. And even if you have a great relationship with your boss, that may not be your last job. Especially if you're only 25, you're going to have another job. So you have to think long term, and it's hard when you're that age. You know, it's funny, my grandmother actually said one of the most poignant things I've heard, and I don't think she's ever actually been on the internet, but somewhere she heard, you know, that stuff never gets deleted. It's always there. So those pictures that you're posting, you know, the more and more remind yourself that that is what employers are looking at. Credit bureaus are starting to look at social. These are things that will be part of your life. So who you give access to that information becomes very, very critical. It is critical. And if you as a business have any questions, we're here to help you anytime you have a question about your social media campaigns, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, blogging, any of the platforms. So please let us know what you're working on so we can talk about it.
Absolutely. You can email us your questions to questions@splashmediau.com, Or you can tweet them by using the hashtag SMTV questions.
Let's take some questions from our viewers. Our first question of the day comes in from Jay Lynn. Jay Lynn wants to know, how do I get people to watch my YouTube videos for my business?
Well, this is going to be secret and proprietary information, Jay Lynn, that I'm going to share with you, but it's really critical that it is compelling, remarkable, and creative. The days of just slapping a video together, putting it up on YouTube and hoping that people are going to watch it just isn't there. It needs to be entertaining, it needs to be educational, and it needs to be remarkable. The crowd and the landscape has gotten that much more dense. And if your video doesn't stand for something, one, it's not going to get the view count that you're looking for. And two, it's not going to get shared. I tell clients all the time, I might not ever share a video about, say, the cubicle business, but if they're showing something entertaining about cubicles, say, I don't know, a truck running straight through a line of cubicles and showing how strong they are or lack of strength, all right, that's entertaining. I might share that with all my friends. So that gets view counts up. You want it to go. And the second biggest piece I'm going to say is this idea of viral videos. That I actually have listened to people use that as a strategy for their business, that we're going to make a viral video. Well, that's like saying I would like lightning to strike tomorrow at this particular place. Yeah. It just doesn't work. So remind yourself that viral comes only after remarkable and compelling content that excites an audience. So I wish I had a magic answer for you, Jalen, but it really is about creativity and striking a chord with the audience.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself that, is it watchable question? Yeah. Would you watch this video? And you got to take things into account like length and who is in it, and the
production value
is important.
Yeah, and the last thing is, it's not only watching it, but am I willing to hit that button and share it with friends?
Exactly.
Yep. Well, awesome. We have another question, and this one's from Richard. Richard wrote to us and said, what are some tips for Twitter for executives?
You know, we've talked a lot about tweeting for a business, and we talk about, you know, and I think the articles that we talked about earlier point to this too, tweeting as individuals, but there's this middle ground where you're an executive and you want to tweet on your own, and you're not necessarily tweeting as the brand.
Sure.
So it's interesting to have that middle ground and try to find out, do I post all about my business? And I think it's somewhere in the middle. You got to post, you know, interesting information that that makes people want to engage with you. So a little bit about yourself, but also it does have to lead back to your business. It has to be industry related in order to stay topical and have that thought leadership that we always talk about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think another big key thing for executives to think about is that this needs to be an extension of their bio. This needs to be an extension of their thought leadership in the space. And those brands and those brand advocates that start to let me inside their world a little bit, I find much more compelling to follow. So, you know, there's been great examples from the Kodak CMO for a number of years, really giving us a personal taste of what it was like to be a chief marketing officer for such a big brand, and really sharing his travel, where he was going, who he was speaking with, and some kind of behind the curtain look at the world of Kodak. Found very compelling to the point that he started a consulting business that came strictly out of what he learned being in the trenches as an executive in Twitter.
I love the behind the scenes, because we talk about that for businesses too, that people, your fans, your customers, they love to kind of peel that layer back and see what makes this business, this brand tick.
Absolutely.
All right, Brenda needs some help with Pinterest. Brenda wrote, we own a florist, or we are a florist, I guess, is what their business is. How do we begin setting up a Pinterest campaign?
Well, this one's a slam dunk when it comes to Pinterest. You're in a visual business, and Pinterest is about live streaming great visuals. Yeah. It's about collecting and categorizing visuals for those that are interested in any type of hobby, any revenue area, any area where a client is trying to engage and find more information. It's just a big visual collage of that. So being a florist, this becomes a slam dunk. What I would tell you is that to get the engagement level up, it's going to be more than just putting up pretty pictures of flowers. I would recommend that you're showcasing the solution of what a florist does, be it showing that how floral arrangements really enhance the living spaces or the corporate environments. Whatever your target audience is, maybe showcasing it more in a total solution than just picture after picture of flowers. The other second piece I'll tell you is use it as a place for user-generated content. So once you get a following and get people engaging with you, start asking them to share their photographs and their visuals along with yours. That builds for a much more robust community and really helps you be seen as the go-to spot in that category.
Absolutely. Adding other users on your boards is a great idea because you can collaborate, and it's also a great way to see what other people are pinning. A lot of the more creative campaigns we see on Pinterest are the companies that look into the people who are pinning flowers and decorating. What else are they talking about? What is on their wish list? And then actually creating something that they can send to that person and make it real, make it tactical. I mean, that's one of the classic examples that we've seen about the brand that actually reaches out physically to the potential customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great. Brian needs some advice with regards to where to post his business updates. And I get this question a lot. I'm very interested in hearing what you've got to say. Should I send out new updates about my business to all the social media platforms? And if I do, won't my customers get sick of seeing it everywhere?
I think it depends on what kind of update we're talking about, partially. But the answer, in general, yes. You want to put out messages everywhere that your customers are. So that could mean that the message is going to be tailored a little bit differently for the different platforms, because of course your message is going to look different on Twitter than it does on Facebook. But yeah, you want to update everywhere, especially if it's big news. If it's a big branding decision, a big change in the company, you want to make sure that every community knows about it.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to a bigger question that you need to start with, and that is, what are the channel's goals that you're building for, and what are the audiences? So this question, I think, comes really from not having a real strategic game plan of what each channel was to target. So therefore, now we're just blasting everything out through every channel.
Right, or I'm not sure where to blast it out.
I'm not really sure which audience is listening through each one. But if we had started from the very beginning and thought through, okay, what type of target audience do we really need in Facebook? What do we want out of Twitter? What do we want out of LinkedIn and Pinterest? That then helps us segment and think through. And then the second piece is listening back. So once we've got that audience built, what are they most interested in? The other big piece I'll tell you is, heaven forbid, ask the clients. Ask them, where would you rather see this information? Do you want this type of update just through Facebook? Do you want it through Twitter? Take a consensus, take a poll. That's the great thing about social media, is you can have that real-time conversation with your audience.
And when you have all those pieces of the puzzle together, you don't even have to worry about that second question of, am I bombarding them? Because you know going in that, no, this is the kind of information that they want and that they're looking for.
Absolutely.
Nice job on the questions today. That's going to do it for today. I want to thank you for joining us today for SMTV, and keep those great questions and topic ideas coming in. For Splash Media, I'm Duncan Gilman.
And I'm Jeff Kilman. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone.